This podcast is the only vid on YouTube not brought to you by Squarespace. Is that a burn on us or them? Hello and welcome to Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show with me, the Jonin Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader. I really have nothing to say about the month of March. It's March. It's weirdly cold and weirdly snowy despite being the start of spring for me. That's all it has going for it. I guess there's Fastlane.
It's almost like climate change is a thing. But anyway, I'm sure that can't be right. It's perfectly normal for me to have snowstorms one week and blazing hot sun a couple of weeks after. But anyway.
Yeah, that's totally a thing that happens. Not to get political or anything. Spoilers, I'm going to get political.
No. But yeah, otherwise, March is more of a transitional month. I mean, the only other things are... The only things I can mention are daylight saving times happen in America and Canada, and then bizarrely 2 weeks later in Europe. No, I don't get that either. And also for other Europeans, don't forget that Sunday 31st is Mothering Sunday, which hopefully future me hasn't forgotten, because it would be really, really awkward if he had.
At least he'll have this recording to remind him. This is so meta, it's awesome.
Maybe that should be the title of this show, The March of Meta. But anyway.
You know, I could see that.
But yeah, let's try and move back a bit from the meta and get into the traditional structure of the show with our first segment,
Q&A.
This is the section where we answer questions from the audience. If you'd like us to answer your questions, either leave them in the comments or send them to me via Twitter with the hashtag MBQuestion.
Our first question comes from Infernity Zero.
Scariest video game experience.
This is hard for me to answer because I deliberately avoid scary video games.
Same, no?
Unless you count everything about Majora.
Yeah, Majora's Mask is an unbelievably creepy game. I mean, it depends on how you classify horror, because it's not really jump scare terrifying, it's more just creepy and unsettling.
Actually, no. You know, scariest video game experience, my first Re-Dead in Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
fuck those things.
Oh, God, yeah, you're right. I mean, they've tried since, but nothing captures the initial terror of, oh my God, what is that thing? Why is it screaming at me? Oh God, it's eating my face!
Nothing to brighten up one's childhood like a literal ghoul.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've answered it perfectly there, because I can't think of anything else either. I mean, there was the one time I bought a video game off an old man, and it turned out the video game was possessed by a demon, but nah, I'm just...
By any chance was the spirit possessing it someone named Ben?
Potentially. Or was it Brian? I forget, but nah. I'm just kidding, folks. No one is that desperate for a video game bargain, with the possible exception of MVL.
God, it's true. His library is so immense, I have to wonder if there are eldritch horrors in it.
Well, actually, if I know MBL, he probably did buy a game that was an eldritch horror, but he got rid of the disc because he only bought it for the box. But anyway... just kidding, MBL, you're a cool dude.
I can just imagine this demon just being like...
At last, I've found my... What are you doing? Put me down. Put me down. Where am I going? No!
Going up to MBL's Loft of Doom. But anyway...
One day I'll organize an adventuring party to go up there and unearth its horrors. That's probably a very bad idea.
But yeah, that's our answer to that question, so I'm going to move on to Infernity Zero's second question, which is...
I want to catch a Pokemon for Richard. Would he prefer an Aegislash, since it looks like a sword, or a Gardevoir, since she's meant to be accompanied by a knight? Or maybe a Dragonite for him to slay?
Okay. I have just recently reacquainted myself with the Unova region, and honestly, just catch him a Bisharp. It looks like him.
That is true.
And he's a narcissist.
Actually, yes, that is entirely true. Hang on, I dare to do this, but let's see. Richard, I'm sure you were listening in on that. What's your take on it? Can Bishop tap into the terrifying powers of darkness?
Yes. Yes, it can.
Oh, really? So it can use Shadow Ball and Hyper Beam and the like?
Yes, actually it can. I'm starting to think I may regret suggesting this, but...
Excellent! I am off right now. Actually, no, I can't be bothered. You, inverted to zero, go and capture him right now. Chop, chop. Haven't got all day. I have a world to conquer.
So that happened.
Yeah, I am always regretting putting him on, but it's either that or get my head caved in. Anyway, moving on.
Nothing like a good old-fashioned threat to get the motivation going.
Yeah, it's not really the same thing, didn't. I have to be the very best or someone will start beating me. Anyway.
Someone please make the Edge version of I Gotta Catch 'Em All.
To catch them is my real test, to be free is my cause. Anyway.
Oh, God! Okay, before we go any darker, our next question comes from Luffy McDuck. What am I looking at? Okay.
I went back in time to the year 1793 to save that guy from pirates who was going to bring the metric system to America. I'm currently stuck in the past and want to know, how does the future look now? And no, I didn't kill any random flies on my time-traveling shenanigans, so no nasty effects caused by that.
Well, I'll just say this. Daniel Bryan approves of your kindness to animals. I can't believe I just said that in the context of this question. Now, as far as what the metric system looks like, here's the thing. We're Americans, so the guy tried to bring the metric system over. We just called him fake news and sent him back to Europe.
Yeah, unfortunately, history has a way of correcting itself, so it always has the predetermined path.
Yeah, should have listened to the doctor. Nice try, though, Luffy. I really hope pirate culture is as cool as it seems.
Although, Sod's Law, depending on which time travel universe it could be, the guy was about to bring the metric system, but then he got run over by a car driven by someone who just kept saying over and over again, "You shouldn't be here."
I love you, Jonas.
Seriously, if you haven't, just watch 11/22/63. It's a good series.
It is, though. It's awesome. But in all seriousness, if we can even go back there, I wish you the best of luck in getting back, Luffy. I really do.
If worst comes to the worst, just leap and hope by some strange hope of improbability the Heart of Gold picks you up. Anyway.
That question was amazing.
But yeah, the second question from Luffy McDuck, which is a bit more normal, is...
If you could learn any language for a snap of your finger, what would it be?
Okay, the serious answer is Spanish, because I've been struggling to learn that since I was 14 years old. But if I want to go into more depth or, more humor, I'm not saying this to pander to the person who asked this question, but I would learn Finnish, so I can understand the language of metal.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. It's actually kind of hard for me to narrow down languages, because... but okay, there are 4 candidates on the line. Japanese, for obvious reasons. Chinese, because of Kung Fu movies, and plus that's a language that's not widely translated as much as Japanese is. The second is French and Spanish, but only for personal reasons, as in, I have failed to learn those languages to a point where I can actually say a complete sentence and not just isolated phrases, but also, it's kind of shameful to admit this, but I am the son of 2 language teachers, and I still can't speak those 2 languages.
Man, I feel your pain. That's understandable.
Not to mention that because 2 of them have been together for so long, my parents have this weird thing where occasionally they'll be having a conversation and they will slip into French or Spanish to say an in-joke, and I'm always left out the conversation. Always!
Oh, that's cruel.
So, yeah, if I was going with my nerdy side, probably Japanese or Chinese. If I was going with my personal grudges, then Spanish or French.
Perfectly reasonable, guy. I understand totally. Our next question comes from Toon Junkie, and I cannot believe this question wasn't asked sooner.
You've been a Jonin for a couple of years now. Do you ever think of moving up the ranks?
Well, I thought about it, but I haven't for two reasons. A, the exams are hard, man. I mean, if you just look at the fiction, for Sub-Zero to become Grandmaster, he had to die, and then get reborn by someone kicking a wizard in the nuts, and then,
What?
Mortal Kombat, man. Mortal Kombat.
Oh my god. That's another phrase I did not think would be uttered today.
Yeah, that's what he had to do in order to earn the title of Grandmaster. That and put aside a long feud between him and Scorpion, which was actually one of the best moments in Mortal Kombat X. And if you go with the Naruto route, you have to pretty much save the world from mass destruction.
Yeah, and plus I imagine another factor is the Onbu monkey and the Hokage monkey really don't have the same ring.
Yeah, everyone always calls me Jonin. It would be kind of weird everywhere when, hey, Grandmaster! It makes me seem a bit more arrogant, so that's the sole reason I'm staying at this rank for now.
Fair enough.
And our last question for the month comes also from Toon Junkie, and he asks,
I'm trying to build a better butter Buddha, but the butter I bought was bitter. Do you know the best place to buy a bit of better butter?
You can't see it right now, but I'm doing the double birds.
In all seriousness, thinking of where you could find such a thing, and just like the general hatred the very question caused for Jonin, Walmart.
Okay, yeah, we can leave it at that. So that's the end of this Q&A section. I should have probably warned, we're doing a slightly less serious show this month, but yeah.
Yeah, light duty.
But yeah, I'm still glad that even when we're doing light duty, we got a great deal out of these questions. So yeah, please keep sending us in questions, and any people who are listening to this for the first time, by all means, send them in. I think it's been proven we're willing to answer almost anything. Almost.
Yeah, we might not answer questions about where we get our dark powers of comedy.
Or any dirty questions, because, come on. Anyway.
Yeah, we're not big on dirty deeds, we're not Dean Ambrose, our finisher is the powerbomb. I don't know where I was going with that.
You know, if I was mean, I would actually try and set a challenge where you went an entire show without making a wrestling reference and see how you did.
Oh god, I would combust.
But yeah, once again, thank you for the questions, and it's now time for us to move to our next section, which this month is...
Crusader Countdowns!
Sup?
Yep, this is the section where the two of us write a top 5 on a particular subject, which ends up strangely becoming a top 10, or a top 5 in tandem, whatever the official name for this is.
Another name for this section, I think that would fit, would be top 5 tag team.
Yeah, could be.
I like that. But Crusader Countdown has a ring to it. It's like the Jonin Monkey.
Plus, also, if we called it tag team, then it would be pushed further and further down the card. People would take it less seriously, and then it suddenly gets beaten up by one big, brawny wrestler and a child.
Not over that. But yes, this is where we count stuff down because we really don't have much to review in a particular month. And because we're doing light duty, this one is pure memes. Without further ado, I'm just going to get straight to it and say this month's topic is our top 5 silly songs, some of which are not actually meant to be silly.
Yes, so this is basically the silly and the goofy songs, which we still unironically enjoy. I mean, I know people say that guilty pleasure should not be a phrase, and you should just admit that you get joy out of something no matter what it is. In our case, this is just, we get joy out of something because it's silly or ridiculous.
Yes, in the words of Marie Kondo, it sparks joy. Now that I've cashed in on that meme.
Also, just to clarify some of the rules, I mean, these are the rules I'm following. Sven can tell me whether or not he's obeyed them in this list, but I'm personally moving away from comedy songs because if the whole point is that they're goofy and over the top, then it feels kind of redundant because then we'd just say comedy songs. And the second rule I'm abiding to is the song itself, from like the lyrics and the instrumentation, has to be where the source of the humor comes from. If it's something like, well, let me put it this way. Milk itself is not a goofy song, it's the fact that it was used in action scenes of the Bleach live-action movie. Or the cover of the Immigrant Song by the Cybertronic Spree isn't funny in itself. It's just that the Cybertronic Spree is a rock band that cosplays as Transformers during their performance.
No, he did not stutter.
Those are the rules I'm following by. Is that something you're going on with your list?
Okay, in my number 1, there may be a little bending of that, but we'll get into that. Mostly, I'm also sticking by it because, for the most part, these are songs that take themselves 100% seriously and become more ridiculous because of it.
Indeed, yes. So, without any further ado, let's get started. I'll kick this off since it was my stupid idea in the first place to do this.
Don't you mean glorious?
Indeed. And so, number 5! The opening to Dinosaur King. This is a kind of an oddity, and the reason it's down low here is that, if I'm brutally honest, I probably wouldn't listen to it over and over again. It's something I come back to every once in a while, just for its sheer oddity. Now, for those of you who don't know what Dinosaur King is, it came out towards the end of 4Kids' lifespan, where they were starting to lose money, lawsuits were coming in, and their shows were kind of getting panned and having low ratings. And I only sort of had a vague interest in the show because, well, it was also when it was coming to the end of my phase when I had satellite TV and I was just watching anything that looked vaguely anime I could find, so...
Mood. That was me in 2006 when we really started talking.
Yep. So...
You remember my Naruto phase? Oh, good God.
Yes, well... Yeah, honestly, Naruto is like Citizen Kane compared to this. But anyway,
oh, God.
And some of the other stuff I watched. But yeah, Dinosaur King is... Like, even back then I wasn't that interested in it, so I only half paid attention. But the opening was always a bit of an oddity, and when I came back to it years later as an adult and I was a curiosity, I was like, what the hell? Because, here's the thing that makes it, like, truly entertaining. Usually when you have these openings for kids, whether they're good or bad, they tend to have an idea of what they want to be and just stick with it and go all out. With Pokemon, you have like an inspiring rock opening. With Yu-Gi-Oh, you have a ominous orchestral music that becomes triumphant at the end. For Kirby, it's jazz for some reason. And for One Piece, it's rap. Enough has been said about that.
And for Naruto, it's weirdly edgy early 2000s rap rock, because it was the early 2000s.
Indeed, yes, but Dinosaur King, okay, it's only like a minute long, but the opening few seconds, it begins with a panning shot of all of these CGI dinosaurs, and there's these tribal drums in the background and this big orchestral sting that goes dun dun dun. What you wanna be, yeah. It just suddenly and abruptly, without any warning, switches styles completely. So it goes from this ominous orchestral music to what I can only describe as the cheesiest patronizing songs for 5-year-olds collection. It's like the entire orchestral drums stops and it's just replaced with this lazy clapping style. It's you've got this then disinteresting singer who's just like trying to sound cheerful despite the fact he really doesn't care. Like, Dinosaur King is your destiny, yeah.
Me on the surface, Dinosaur King is your destiny. Me underneath, kill me.
Pretty much, yeah. So that would alone would be really weird, but it's not the only opening to do this. Power Rangers Mystic Force also had a similar thing where it starts off with this orchestral fantasy bass do 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 do, and then suddenly switching to this god awful rap of "Here come the Power Rangers, here come the Power Rangers," which is already bad enough. But the reason Dinosaur King stands above even that is because it carries on for about another 10 seconds of "Dinosaur King is your destiny, yeah," and then gets into this vague sentence of and then it changes styles again. There's another singer comes in and goes,
Watch out, here we go. Prehistoric dinosaurs aren't acting anymore. See them fight, hear a roar. Watch out, cause they're right next door.
Oh god, it's like a 90s anime explosion.
Yeah, it just suddenly switches to hard rap, and the rap goes on, the drums come back in, and followed by the orchestral stings with this rapper trying to get darker and more serious, and it goes bound and down, the past is in the present, bound and down, and time is turned upside down, bound and down, these fossils are colossal, bound and down, only one can wear the crown, but Dinosaur King is your destiny.
I love how you couldn't even get to the end of the song, partially because I started cracking up, and partially because what is that song?
Yeah, that's the reason it's here. It's just the sheer oddity of it. Like, what you heard, that wasn't me exaggerating, that wasn't me editing, it is literally just transition from
Only one can wear the crown.
Dinosaur King is what you wanna be.
It's such a strange oddity, because you clearly can tell that they had no idea what they wanted to do with this show, and they failed to meet Marketing 101, which is decide how to pitch your show and stick with it, for the love of God.
Yeah, like, that is like everything about the late 90s and early 2000s in music that was bad. Like, it goes from orchestra to Kids Bop to early 2000s Metallica, and I do not say that in a flattering light.
Yeah, but despite all of that, it's just because of the sheer oddity and the fact that they're just like, okay, that's what you're going with, is it? That's kind of what makes it charming in its own way. It's the fact that they had no idea what they're doing and just decide to steam ahead with it anyway. Yeah, I'll keep roll with that. I can respect that in a strange way. Not enough to actually listen to it regularly, though, but
I get you. It's not like it's... Okay, no. In fact, it is in the entirely parallel universe to good music. But you can at least respect that they rolled with their stupidity.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is my number 5. Sven, over to you.
Okay, so... I'm not sure if this counts as deliberately comedic, but really the point is the song takes itself seriously. From my past, number 5, from A Muppet Christmas Carol, The Man They Call Scrooge. So basically, this is the Muppets trying to do a complete straight-faced adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Yeah.
I know this movie exists, but I only ever saw trailers of it as a child, so I never knew if they were taking it 100% seriously or just doing a stand-up of it, but...
Yeah, there are comedic bits and, like, fourth wall breaking, but no. This is legit. And what's really funny is that most people consider it the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol maybe ever put to film, which is weird. Until you actually see the production quality that went into it. It's something that should not be taken seriously, but is so good that it is. And it also gave birth to, singularly, one of the funniest things Michael Caine has ever said. He played Scrooge in this, and he legitimately said, of working with Muppets, you just have to treat them like real people. It's a thing that should not be as legit as it is, but because of Michael Caine and the musical numbers, it is. And my favorite of them is the opening theme, The Man They Call Scrooge. A Muppets villain song about Ebenezer Scrooge with the best opening hook of a movie, I think, ever? It starts with this, like, low, driving, thrumming instrumental course as two of the Muppets narrate. I am not making that up. One of them playing Charles Dickens.
Huh.
You will meet him as he comes around that corner.
Where?
There.
When?
Now. There he is, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge.
And then it swells as Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge is introduced cloaked first walking through the streets And then Muppets just start singing about how bad he is. It's weird, because in a song like this, you can really understand why Scrooge would be bitter, because people literally sing about how much he sucks every time he walks into the street. But at the same time, it really does build him up as an amazing, dark, intimidating figure. It's so weird.
I mentioned that as a child, I only saw trailers of this because they were often included on the VHSs, and the funny bit is, they actually included bits of that song. In fact, I remember one of the lyrics was something along the lines of, if there was a prize for being me, the winner would be him, or something like that.
Yeah, like, it's just a long track about how much Ebenezer Scrooge is a greedy old bastard. And, honestly, this movie and Muppet Treasure Island, which is way funnier and more ridiculous, are also excellent masterclasses in how dark Muppets can go, because this is a Muppet song that opens with the line,
When a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone.
and it actually works, even though it's with puppet voices.
No. I think if Happy Time Murders has taught me anything, it's that the way to show dark with puppetry is to show them being murdered and having sex. Anyway,
Ew. But this is a Muppets villain song in A Christmas Carol about Ebenezer Scrooge, played by Michael Caine. It should not be awesome, but it's fantastic.
yeah, in all seriousness, I can definitely see the admiration in that. It's nice when someone takes a ridiculous premise and it just goes, yeah, let's just run with it and treat it 100% seriously, you know?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and they're like, yeah, we know it's ridiculous. We're rolling with it. Personal favorite moment in the song, when a group of carolers start singing about how Scrooge must really and truly be misunderstood, and there must be a human underneath, and then he walks past, shoves the collection box back in their face, and they're like,
Nah.
Well, I guess go with the image you're presented.
pretty much. So, yeah, there's nothing much else to say about this. It's possibly the best musical opening to a movie I've seen, arguably matched only by The Lion King, but that's The Circle of Life. It's iconic. This is more Muppets being edgy and succeeding. As weird as a phrase as that is.
That is totally fair. And, it's funny because I have something similar for number 4. Oh, no, sorry, I did that wrong. I have something similar for my number 4! I'm going briefly back to TV show openings for the last time on this, specifically kids show openings. Okay, when I was thinking about doing this, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, I was thinking back through some of the kids openings, and a lot of them I noticed this pattern where, well, like I mentioned with the Dinosaur King opening, we remember the melody because the lyrics are written to be memorable, like on a basic rhyming scheme children can understand, and the instrumentation works, but the singer doesn't. Like, the thing I was looking at was a show that came later to my childhood. This was before the satellite TV era of my teenage years, but in my childhood, towards the very end of it, was a show called Street Sharks, which only a few people remember. And they're the type of people who go, oh yeah, Street Sharks was awesome. This was the quality TV that we had back as a child. To which I say, go back and watch it. I'm someone who actively watched it as a child, and I'm saying, go back and watch it. It is not good. It is not good at all. Like, if you watch this show, you'll realise what the Simpsons were making fun of when they created the character of Poochie. But there is a lot of jazz in it, and it has like a memorable rhyme scheme, but the thing is, the singer just doesn't care, so he's kind of giving a half-interested, they bite, they fight, they stand for everything right. Just this all low-key, what am I doing with my life? I was in musical theatre, now I'm doing this.
This is the guy that they hired from the Disney Jungle Tour ride, and he's not sure if it's actually an upgrade.
But, yeah, in the recommended tabs for this was the spin-off show that somehow came out of this, or at least the show that was part of a Twilight created by the same company, Extreme Dinosaurs. Which, already, that's as 90s as you could possibly guess.
You know, that's so 90s, I can hear Eiffel 65. That's so 90s, I can smell ring pops.
And since I invented the backstory of the previous artist from Street Sharks being someone who has sunken so low, I imagine this song being written by an 80s hair metal band who they've been trying so hard, but it's just not working. And the last gig they got is recording this song for a kid's show that's probably going to tank, and they go, you know what, lads, let's give it all we got. One last time. That's the only reason I can think of that a show called Extreme Dinosaurs has a kick-ass opening. Because this guy, in Blind Guardian style, just freaking goes for it. Like, even there's not even like a quiet build-up. The song instantly opens with like a guitar riff, and there's the man bellowing at the top of his lungs going,
Something's really rocking on planet number 3. Modern man's got prehistoric company.
That's amazing.
he just goes full pelt and doesn't stop. Like, even when you think, oh, okay, he's dying down now, he suddenly comes back up, and you can tell this in the chorus where he just goes, extreme, 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 not a SARS! And he just... It's just amazing. The lyrics are just shite with bad puns, but this guy just freaking sells it and makes it sound like the most awesome thing you've ever heard.
Tails that snap like thunderclaps, talking, stalking, racket trap. Extreme, extreme, extreme dinosaurs. The classic ganja rocket form. Extreme dinosaurs.
Man, you know, I'm not going to spoil further things down my list, but I love how we're almost touching on power metal already. Because that's a realm of cheese like no other.
Yeah, like, this guy is just going, yeah, I see all this cheese, and I'm gonna consume it. Like, the only quiet, dull point in the song is the bit where the executives have obviously gone, okay, we need to add a little bit of instrumental here for 10 seconds, just so that we can throw in the catchphrases and hope those children remember. So there's this like one dull bit where the guitar just goes dun 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 dun, and you get clips from the show with the titular dinosaurs just yelling, "Let's fossilize them!" and stuff like that, just to try and get the kids to remember it. And then they redeem it by going straight back into extreme, 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 not a SARS!
Yeah, you know, that's really and honestly, that backstory you developed is really and honestly what I can imagine now.
Because, yeah, that's the only reason I can think in my head. That, or it's just some executive who's always wanted to be hair metal and just goes, you know what, this is my chance, I'm going for it.
The last shot.
Yeah. Because, honestly, again, it's like you were saying earlier, it's something that shouldn't work, and yet somehow it does, and you can just fully admire someone who just went, you know what, feck it, let's do this.
You know, I really respect that. I honestly do.
So yeah, on that last scream of hair metal chords, Sven, over to you.
Okay, now, speaking of 80s hair metal, that is all the lead up you need for this next track. Number 4, from Fist of the North Star, the original opening. Oh, this song. This is an 80s glam band love song, except it's really, really needlessly epic, and it is the opening theme of Fist of the freaking North Star.
Yeah, you can't get much more machismo cheese than Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, like, this opening is so 80s. It has, like, the really manly, passionate lead singer that just, I almost want to say, a lady singing, like, gospel vibratos in the background. It's like if you combined an unholy cocktail of everything about Japan in the 80s with Bon Jovi and ABBA. and attached it to Fist of the North Star.
I'm trying to, like, my mind is literally trying to process that cocktail while I can't get a grip on it.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it is amazing.
You are shot!
If not my favorite, it's probably my second favorite anime opening ever. It does not at all suit Fist of the North Star in any universe, but I don't care because it's amazing. And it does suit in the fact that it is absolutely stupid and ridiculous, and I love it.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need anything else other than passion and just absurdity to get your way into someone's heart, really.
Yeah, and I swear this is true, belting about the power of love, while Kenshiro punches a guy's head into oblivion in the background. It's like if you attached You Give Love a Bad Name to Fallout 3.
I mean, the closest I can even think of, which is only... This was a bad decision, so, I mean, compared to this, which sounds awesome, it's not that great of an example, but the only thing I can think of is when Saint Seiya came over in the 80s as Knights of the Zodiac. The opening they chose for it was bizarrely a cover of I Ran by Bowling for Soup. I'm not making that up.
Wow. Yeah, that honestly, it's a good comparison as far as the mismatch goes, because, again, this is an 80s rock love song sung by a guy whose hair I have seen. It is 80s, trust me. Over the Fist of the North Star opening. This is a rock song playing over montages of Kenshiro punching tanks and making people explode. In other words, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Honestly, I now kind of want to see a redub of Fist of the North Star, which is "You're already dead, thanks to the power of love."
Oh, man. Yeah, honestly, I can sort of see that. And then he and Vash the Stampede could have tea. But basically, yeah, this is a very good, cheesy song that's made all the better by the colossal mood whiplash going on between the song and the show it's meant to be promoting.
Yeah, I have no more words for that. That's just awesome.
Yeah, I love this song. I love this opening. And Kenshiro is still my hero. Over to you, Jonin.
Okay, for my number 3, I am going with a video game song. And this one took me a while because, well, I knew I had to include a Sonic track on this list. I just wasn't sure which one. Because, I had two problems with classifying them in the goofy range. On the one hand, there were some final boss themes like With Me and Live and Learn, which I was listening to them and think, well, the thing is, I could nitpick and say some of the wording of the lyrics sounds a bit odd, but otherwise they're thematically on point and they're awesome rock songs which do get you pumped for the final battle.
This is the weird thing. Sonic had a period of being really, really bad, but having really great music. Wasn't the band Crush 40?
Yep.
Yeah, their song Live Life I unironically love.
Same. That's why it's not on this list.
Yeah, there was a certain point where you could absolutely destroy a Sonic game, but still say, but at least it had Crush 40.
Yeah, and the only other category I can think of is I started thinking about, well, maybe there were some songs like Amy's theme in Sonic Adventure 2, or the Too Strong, Too Black final boss theme from Sonic Rush, but then I started thinking, well, no, those are bad songs with nonsensical lyrics, but I don't listen to them outside of the context of a video game, so it's not really fair. But then I realized there were one group of songs that I did like, and one of them in particular I really enjoyed, that were goofy, and I know they're goofy, but I still can't help but love them. And to give you a clue with this, I'm going to call back to an old segment. Ridiculous! Rapping! Rhymes!
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No, Jonin, you're not gonna do this to me again, are you? Please don't do this to me again.
I'm sorry, but Kick the Rock is a song I do love as a goofy song.
Okay, take it away. I'm just going to contemplate my existence.
But yeah, if you remove the songs that are unironically awesome, then I do have to mention Kick the Rock. This is the Wild Canyon theme from Sonic Adventure 2. This was during a phase when, for some weird reason, they decided the best song to go with Knuckles the Echidna, who at the time was a treasure hunter and fist fighter, was rap. Yeah, I don't get it either.
I could see it if it was good rap, but this is not. Like, it's bad, but in a weirdly endearing way. I say as someone whose head nearly exploded the first time I looked at the lyrics.
Yeah, like, in terms of the instruments, it has like this nice little jaunty saxophone, and it has like an upbeat rhythm that goes along with it. And the lyrics, well, they don't really rhyme for a start. And a lot of them consist of really bad wordplay. Like, okay, there was one lyric that confused us the first time I did the ridiculous rapping rhymes, yet another attempt at a Sonic Let's Play that never got finished. That was a line that went,
Like I don't know, that's what I'm representing. Never seen a mic hog spit like a menace.
apparently Donna is rap slang for the best or number one. So Knuckles is saying, the best echidna, that's what I'm representing. But then you realise it doesn't work, because Echidna doesn't sound anything like echidna.
No, it doesn't. Unless you're Australian and drunk.
Like, really, I think it was just one of those cases where the pun works better on paper than it does spoken out loud. Like the joke of one of Bobby Davero's ancestors created the Daleks. But,
Oh my god, I just got that.
yeah, that's what I mean. It works on paper, but doesn't actually work when you speak it out loud because the words aren't pronounced like that. And it's filled with either bad wordplay like that, or some really awkward phrases like,
Yeah, rude, she's sexy and smooth. A double cross by thief, that's out for my Jews. I'm feeling her in mysterious ways. That's
my god. Okay, let me put it this way. If a lyric could not get past WWE censorship, maybe it should not be in a Sonic game.
nope. But even with all that, like Sven said, it's kind of endearing in the way that it carries on regardless, and they do a good job, I feel, of selling the story and the mood of a level. Like, in this case, the entire focus of the song is about how Knuckles has returned for another game. Like, the opening, which a lot of people ironically quote, is,
This is Knuckles, and I'm back. I've been away for a while, but I'm back to kick some butt and wild candy. I shall find all the lost pieces of the Master Emerald here.
After that, it then tells the story of this thief came along, stole my gems, and now I want them back, and a little bit of the love story that was sort of vaguely hinted in SA2 and then quickly dropped in favor of Rouge and Shadow for reasons. But anyway, the whole point is, it's incredibly goofy, but I feel it's a really great job of selling the level, and considering that what you're actually doing in a level, which is endlessly wandering around in search of gems which could be anywhere on the map, it's got a nice upbeat nature to it that stops you from being completely bored out of your minds.
Yeah, it's weird. Jonin can vouch that I had a mental breakdown as soon as I saw the lyrics, but it's one of those things where it's so bad you can actually enjoy it, and I can respect that.
I guess for the sheer, I don't know, bravado of trying to sell it as cool when it's clear you have no idea what you're doing, and the fact that, again, it does set the mood and tone of the level and the story surrounding it. That's why I'm giving the third place spot to Kick the Rock. Sven, if you've recovered from that unfortunate flashback I'm giving you, over to you.
Okay, speaking of word salad lyrics, I love how we keep doing this. we're now dipping into unplumbed depths. Because there's a genre of music that, with the exception of a select few bands, runs on so stupid it's awesome. And that is the genre power metal. My favorite genre. You can tell what kind of person I am. And if I were to say those two words, power metal, you'd probably think of one band. And you'd be right. Number 3, Through the Fire and the Flames by Dragon Force.
Ah, yes. Like, that's one of those songs that is elevated above power metal. I mean, admittedly, there are some songs I personally think are better in the genre, but pretty much Blind Guardian. But even if people who aren't interested in the genre, if you say Through the Fire and the Flames, then you go, oh, that Dragon Force song, that's really, really fast.
Yeah, basically. This song... How do I describe it? This song is everything dumb and pretentious and guitar wanky about metal in general, coupled with lyrics that make no sense.
First off, thank you for the mental image of the phrase guitar wanking, but...
You're welcome. I had a friend once who described the guitars in Dragon Force, provided by the illustrious Herman Lee and Sam Totman, as weenily weenily. And that's actually an accurate descriptor of their sound. Basically, listen to Dragon Force if you want to listen to 8 minutes of guitar solos interrupted by 2 minutes of word salad.
I mean, the sound of this, I do actually remember part of the opening verse, so just to give you an example of the lyrics. In fact, you know what, let's give them a proper English accent, because why not? On a cold winter morning, in the time before the light, in flames of death's eternal reign, we ride towards the fight.
Yeah, that's a thing that they actually wrote and decided that it really made sense. This is the thing about Dragon Force. Some power metal bands, not to say who, don't take themselves seriously at all. They have fun with it. Some take their lyrics seriously, but are still sort of jokesters. I can give an example here because it's not spoilers for the list. Sabaton, a band I adore. Dragon Force take themselves 100% seriously. They really think that they are writing great, epic, insightful songs, when in fact they're writing lyrics like it's so pretentious it couldn't even be in a George Martin book. It's condensed fantasy. It's everything about fantasy that is wrong.
Yeah, the point I think of the song overall is that it's basically saying this is a absolutely terrible fight and a terrible war, but through the fire and the flames we'll carry on. Except they've tried to cram in so much imagery at once that it kind of just ends up being like, wait, what? Stop, no, wait, stop, go back, what was that?
Yeah, and that's pretty much Dragon Force in a nutshell. They try to be so epic all at once that they just end up being funny. And I still like them. I'll be the first to admit that Through the Fire of the Flames is absurd. It's peak power metal. It's everything associated with the genre by people who are really familiar with it, except taken to hilariously nonsensical degrees. And yet it's cool.
Yeah, that's the thing about power metal. Even when it's taken to absolutely absurd extremes, there's still something enjoyable in it. Like, even if the song is essentially war is terrible but don't give up, there's still a lot of striking imagery in there. Maybe too much, but still a lot, so that it feels grand and epic, even if you take a step back and go, wait a minute, all you said is war is bad.
Yeah. Again, it's basically Dragon Force personified. They have a very simple message to all of their songs, but they take 8 different roads to get there, all of them being taken by different band members.
And also, just because someone will mention it in the comments if we don't, it was also the final level of a Guitar Hero game.
Yeah, and for that I can't fault it, because the song is a challenge, and it put Dragon Force massively on the map, and it also put the entire genre on the map, and became the reason I got into it.
Fair enough.
I was 14 years old in 2006. I think that was when it was the final level of the final song in that Guitar Hero game, and someone linked me to it, and I thought it was really cool, and that led me down a rabbit hole the likes of which no one unfamiliar with power metal could possibly imagine.
I think I had a similar story, except replace Guitar Hero with Naruto AMVs.
Perfectly valid, my guy. So, yeah. Basically anyone familiar with memes needs no further explanation of Through the Fire and Flames. It's Through the Fire and Flames. It's absurd. It makes barely any sense. And it's great. I love it. I actually do, and I'm a little ashamed to admit it, but I'm carrying on. Jonin, over to you.
Okay. For my number two, I'm going with something that's equally word salady, but it comes from a specific composer. Sven, have you ever heard of someone named Yuki Sawano?
Probably, but it's not ringing a bell right now.
First off, I must correct my mispronunciation. It's Hiroyuki Sawano, and this is the thing. You probably haven't heard his name, but you've definitely heard his songs, because Hiroyuki Sawano is a Japanese composer, and he has a very specific style. A big, bombastic, epic style. And you will have heard one of his songs, because it will get insanely popular, and then people will do various remixes where they try to connect it to other things. Just to give you a list of the things this guy has soundtracked, he has provided these soundtracks for Attack on Titan.
Oh, man. I already know where this is going, because the Attack on Titan intro, oh my god, the Attack on Titan intro.
Yes, that's one example. There's also the Unanoa Zero with stuff like MK Allies. That was one of his.
Oh my god, a song I unironically like.
Yeah, he also soundtracked the entirety of Thunderbolt Fantasy, which I briefly considered including the main theme Thunderbolt Fantasy in there, but then I realized there may be bad English, but who gives a shit? It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, honestly, that's pretty much the sum of this guy from what I've seen of his work.
Yeah, so it was really hard for me to... I was thinking, okay, he's so bombastic and over the top that's gonna count as goofy, but there were so many of his tracks which it got to the point where I unironically enjoyed it, and I thought, don't care. Or the other way, like with Another Zero, where, okay, MK Allies lyrics are gibberish because they combine multiple languages for no reason, but I never actually saw that show, so I don't really know what the context of it. Maybe there was a reason for getting these different vocal styles and mashing them all together. The fact that he does like to include a lot of random German in his songs, it leads me to suspect otherwise, but it's not a fair observation to make without having actually seen the show in the context. That is not the case for this next track, which comes from a video game he soundtracked, Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Oh man, I did not know that he was responsible for that soundtrack.
Yep. Well, there are two ways that you can signify his soundtracks. One, if the song title is a bunch of code gibberish, like number 0xe100 or Burn No Dread or what I can only describe as Kachichuberglugly, as in just a random bunch of characters typed together, odds are it's Hiroyuki Sawano. He has really odd track naming conventions. Second, if the track goes da 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 da, then yeah, it's probably him. If you listen to an anime with big pounding orchestral themes and a massive vocal component, it's him.
Yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind going forward.
But this song is like I said, he likes to mix different vocal styles together, and this is a a really strange one, because there are lots of tracks which, even if I can't understand the lyrics, like Mr. EX01, I do find unironically awesome and would love to use them in fight sequence sometimes, just because they have that whole epic thing of you go really quiet, so giving space for someone to say a badass line, and then boost it back up with a powerful chorus with a load of German, which I don't know what it means, but hey, it sounds cool. But this one, it's really strange because the lyrics are in English. When I actually read the lyrics, I can understand it. And it doesn't really fit the context of anything, but still sounds great. And it's the main battle theme you'll be hearing constantly throughout the game. Like, this is the song that always plays whenever you're fighting mooks in the field. That song is Black Tar, which is a prog rock rap. How to describe Black Tar? I'm just going to get the lyrics up because there is no way I can remember this off the top of my head. So to give the context of Xenoblade Chronicles X, in case you haven't played the game or seen my podcast review, nudge, wink, wink, plug, the entire premise of that game is we were running away from an alien force, but we crashed landed on an alien planet, and now we need to make our way through it and try to survive it. When you tune it into the background, it works. Like, the instrumentation, it has like this tense electronica going with it, and these hard rock drums. And you've got a bunch of rappers who, their English and pronunciation is a bit odd, so some of the lyrics can get a bit slurred, but it has this feeling of this tense, pulse-pounding action, so it gives you the idea that every battle does feel like it's a significant threat. That said, when you actually get to some of the lyrics, well, it's time to get out the posh boys again. On a sea of dark matter, every minute matters, living while other lives shatter. Seeing ghosts scatter. As they pour out, we can handle them. It's the tar taking over that came unexpected. Hard to accept it. Getting marked for death. Seeing friends snatched and darkly possessed. The tar inside the body and breath. Till only a shell is left. Witness to hell in the flesh. A fight to the death. Screaming, where's the relief? Maybe no more sleep.
Excuse me, what?
Basically, it's Dragon Force if they were rapping.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually a good comparison because it is rapping at the same speed, because I did the post English voice, but with the speed, it's more like... It's a constant stream of it, which, again, fits the pulse-pounding action. It's when you pull back and you go, hang on, where are you getting this context of Black Tar from? Because, well, the whole point is you're fighting alien forces you don't understand, not getting possessed.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, it's what would happen if Eminem collaborated with Dragon Force.
More or less, yes. Even just that, there are some elements which do stick out. Like, there's meant to be a tense bit where the lyrics of the rapping cool down, and it is just the sound of one person screaming into the void out of, like, desperation. It's in, like, someone's last dying gasp. Unfortunately, the words he uses are a bit weird.
Hello, is this thing on? Am I all alone? Is anyone there? I need a bigger gun. Help if you can. Please wake me up. Not to sound cliche, but this world sucks.
You know, I really actually thought that exact lyric in 2016.
Yeah, it's just a weird moment in the song, and that's the bit people have been quoting ironically. Just the fact that it suddenly comes out of nowhere and doesn't seem to fit in terms of its ridiculousness. But the thing is, even with the ridiculous lyrics, it really works. It's one of those things that can sometimes happen with soundtrack music, in that even if the song in isolation is just flat out ridiculous, in the moment, if you're imagining this tense action scene going on, in the case of this sci-fi battle where people are desperately firing their guns at this huge unstoppable creature that's causing chaos and havoc, or this army of alien zealots that want nothing but to wipe you off the face of the earth and even the galaxy. It just fits, and it just all becomes part of the background, and you go, you know what, yeah, I'll roll with it, it works, I'm pumped, let's go.
Yeah, it really seems like it does. The lyrics are absurd. I can only imagine, like, the sound of the track, because honestly now all I can imagine is Eminem collaborating with Dragon Force, which is now a thing I want to see. But yeah, it really does seem like it fits the mood, so I'm okay with it, and it really suits the list. It's stupid, but it's awesome.
Indeed. On to you, Sven.
Oh man, delving even deeper down the rabbit hole I mentioned earlier. Still in the land of power metal. This band, I want to say, was the second one I got into after my Dragon Force phase finally translated into, maybe I should check out more power metal. This is pretty cool. And I happened across another band. And I'm going to have to go into some depth about this, because the layers of meme involved in how ridiculous this band is it's a symphony in and of itself. Number 2, Emerald Sword by Rhapsody of Fire. This is a band that, legitimately, their gimmick is concept albums. Telling long, drawn-out stories over the course of several albums. From what I remember, they've had 2 full sagas so far. That was basically telling one complete multiverse. And then shenanigans happened leading up to the band becoming 2 different bands, but that's a different story. Basically, their whole thing is storytelling, sort of like Blind Guardian, except they tell original stories. The first one being the classic evil godlike king trying to dominate an unsuspecting fantasy world. The catch is, they're Italian. Their lead singer was an opera singer, and their songwriters never really had the greatest grasp of English.
Oh.
Which led into some interesting lyrics, a lot of which are on display in their signature song, Emerald Sword. So for starters, it opens on this swelling, pounding, I think it was actually a keyboard piece, but it really does sound like a full orchestra. This piece, backed up by the, shall we say, screeching, fast-paced guitar soloing of Maestro Luca Turilli, leading into the bombastic Italian-accented vocals of power metal legend Fabio Leone. One of my favorite power metal singers, because he's just the genre personified. An ex-opera singer who went to metal and basically sang a great big love letter to Lord of the Rings. And for an idea of how stupid the lyrics are, let me just give you a snippet from the chorus. One of the most famous choruses in power metal. For the king, for the land, for the mountains, for the green valleys where dragons fly, for the glory, the power to end the Black Lord, I will search for the Emerald Sword. That chorus causes me pain to say, but it causes me joy to listen to because it's Fabio Leone pouring his heart into the dumbest lyrics known to man.
Yeah, like, just listening to that, that's not even Dragon Force, where you're trying to send a message about war but using epic imagery. That's just straight up fantasy. We're gonna kill dragons! This is awesome!
Yeah, it's like power metal written by someone who just got done with a really great 5e session. And I love it so much because it's Rhapsody of Fire. Their whole gimmick was being as cheesy as humanly possible, but still being so epic you love them. Case in point, their narrator was Christopher Lee.
Oh, nice. I knew Christopher Lee had some power metal experience, but man.
That's how he got his start, actually. He decided, okay, I'm in my 90s. I've done everything I can ever possibly do with my career. Except power metal. So why not?
Man, that's cool.
Christopher Lee, man. Fun fact. I told the story of the Winter War. He volunteered and fought in it.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure Christopher Lee did the most with his life that any human being could feasibly do. And in this case, it contributed to the most ridiculous band you'll ever hear while still being so into it. Other songs of theirs I would recommend include Holy Thunder Force, The Knight Rider of Doom, Unholy War Cry, Dawn of Victory. You can tell what sort of audience they're catering to.
Half of those sound like anime attacks, and the other half sound like potential usernames by a 14-year-old.
Yeah, they really do. And, you know, somehow they make it work. Like, the level of talent on display in the band is absurd. Torelli is widely regarded to be one of the best guitarists ever. Their lead singer, once again, former opera singer. I cannot stop hammering on that because it really shows. Like, the keyboardist Alex Staropoli always set the right orchestral mood, and they just took this story they were writing so seriously and poured so much love into it that you can actually completely get past the fact that the storytelling itself and the lyrics were absolute pants.
Yeah. I don't have anything to follow up with that. That just sounds just so beautifully dumb.
Yeah, it's almost poetry in motion. And number 2, Emerald Sword. Honestly, probably, if it's not And Then There Was Silence by Blind Guardian, probably my favorite power metal song, because it's so dumb, but so lovably done.
Yeah, indeed. Time to raise a cup of fantasy me to that one.
And now, we enter the closing stretch, as I throw it over to you, Jonin. Actually, we have honorable mentions, don't we? I always
Indeed.
forget those.
Indeed, I was about to say, before we go on, here's some honourable mentions that are goofy, but just not goofy or enjoyable enough to make the list. So, some ones I can share over the top of my head. Power Rangers Jungle Fury opening. For the similar reasons as the Extreme Dinosaurs, this kind of cheesy, unbelievably positive McFly-style Power Rangers opening, which is kind of charming in its own way. Cardfight Vanguard opening 1, just for the insane English they were shoved in for no apparent reason. I suppose the original Go-Go Power Rangers theme, and the one random video game track which I always remember from Capcom vs SNK 2, particularly since it was in the London stage for some reason. This is the true love we're making.
I can appreciate that. And as for me, honorable mentions on my end include 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, David Tennant's favorite song and the Scottish national anthem. All-Star by Smash Mouth, because Shrek, and honestly, unironically, it was one of the themes of my childhood. I heard it a lot. From Eurovision, Hard Rock Hallelujah by Lordi, the most amazing Klingon band you'll ever see. And also from Eurovision, Alcohol is Free by Kozamostra and Agathanas Iakovidis. A bunch of guys, led by a Greek grandpa, earnestly singing about how much they love booze.
And speaking of Eurovision, I'll also throw in It's My Life by Caesar from Eurovision 2013, just because...
I know, I remember that guy. Oh god, he looked like Eric Roberts' version of the Master in Doctor Who.
And even before that, this is a man who somehow goes into soprano.
Yeah.
and stays there for the entire song.
I joked about ridiculous falsettos in my You a Shock entry, but yeah, that guy, he happened. Really want his cape.
Likewise, or whatever it was that caused him to grow even taller on that stage. But anyway, we now reach the climax. These are the goofiest of the goofy, and yet somehow the most enjoyable. We've reached number one! For my number one, let me take you back to a little bit of my childhood. During those, well, I say childhood, it was during that same early teen years when I discovered satellite TV and was pretty much consuming anything that looked like anime, because I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Granted, a lot of the series don't hold up, and this is one of them. It's a series that the dub did a really good job with the soundtrack, and on watching, I did some research before this to try and get some of the original context. One of the few things the dub did correctly, because the voice acting is awful. I mean, I normally bat for voice actors and say, there was usually a reason for that. They were miscast, or they were given low pay. No, the voice acting is awful. And the script also was pretty bad, to the point where you have someone being uninterestedly say, I'm taking you down, cyber freak.
Oh my god.
But the soundtrack was actually surprisingly good, and it contained a lot of vocal tracks in it, especially when it got into the second series, where even for this series, which came in 3 parts, even for this series was actually probably the worst stuff, but it produced this great song, which carried over into the third part, that I would argue is the better series of it by far. The series in question, much to my shame, is Beyblade. And, okay, this is the thing. The soundtrack decided, actually pretty sensibly now I think about it, to try and sell the Beyblades as cool. They went with what I can only describe as an extreme sports Tony Hawk-esque soundtrack. Like, it was pretty much that sort of bro dude style rock. Even just the opening, it has this like really entertaining guitar riff, and it has people singing about picking up speed, going out of town, going head to head, it's a way of life, you know. It's ridiculous, but it works. But there was one song that always stood out to me, just because it started my love of music that helped build a moment. Music which, as I said earlier, helps blend with the action and elevates it, and oh boy did it have a job elevating this stuff. The song in question is Underdog. It was introduced in Beyblade V-Force and was one of the few good things about that series. The song itself, if you looked at just the lyrics, it wouldn't be that impressive, because the lyrics are, well, they're just a stack of cliches, if I'm honest. Like, there's stuff like, I've earned my dues, I've earned my keep, in this race, I'm taking first place, you know, that kind of thing. It's a song that's happy that it managed to find a rhyming scheme, and is basically just, I'm going to beat you eventually. That's all the song's really saying. I'm going to beat you eventually. Then you get to the instrumentation, which is like this really tense grunge guitar is the best way I can describe it. Like, the opening chords of this. It's like a really nice catchy melody, which is hard to say about grunge guitar, but you get what I'm saying. And these hard rock drums that come in, and again, you gotta keep in mind that the context of which it's always played. It's always played in a sense when the villains are on top, they're pounding the heroes into the ground, and the heroes fighting back desperately, but it doesn't seem like there's much they can do. And you get the cliche lyrics, and you get them, but the singer does it in this kind of, the best way I can describe it is this, I guess, trance music style.
Waited so long, standing for you. The world beneath your feet.
It adds this idea of tension, which obviously again sells that moment. But then as the song goes on, and as the hero refuses to give up and starts trying to make a counterattack, that's when the song starts building, and it gets to the chorus, which to this day I've not been able to get out of my head. And it's so ridiculous. But when you're combining it again in what is essentially an action anime, even if it is involving spinning tops, it just freaking sells it as mood. Like, just get completely lost in the fact that yes, the series is and yes, the lyrics aren't that inspiring, but just in that mode you can't help but go, yes, let's go.
Yeah, it really, really seems like it. Like, you have to do a lot to elevate Beyblade, but it's one of those cases where it seems like the music is so passionate it makes it work. Sort of like the music in Rhapsody of Fire being so passionate it makes the pants lyrics work.
Exactly, yeah, and it's all that same context. It's kind of like, actually kind of funny thinking of this example, I kind of want to edit it to this song now, but it's kind of like a good wrestling match. Like we were saying last time in our Royal Rumble review, you get so caught up in that whole thing of you want to see a good guy struggle and desperately try, and they don't always win. Like, both in wrestling and when this song is used. The hero doesn't always win, but you get so caught up in that moment that you forget that, wait a minute, I'm watching two guys, or sometimes two women, do moves that are incredibly unrealistic in a ring pretending to be people that they're not. You just forget all of that because the raw passion of, oh my god, the hero's been fighting for so long, but now he might just win. That just completely takes over, and this song is pretty much the epitome of that. It's the song designed to do exactly that in this series.
Honestly, from what you've described to me, it just suits its need perfectly.
Yeah, it's just really that. Sometimes all you need is that raw emotional hook, and that gets over everything. It's really where it cemented my love for those type of fight scenes, or indeed those kind of scenes in general. I'm not one of those people who gives a about people looking cool. I really find it boring in the fan base of something like, say, Dragon Ball. I'm going, oh look, Goku's achieved this new form and it's super awesome and he's beating down the enemy. It's like, that's boring. I want to see struggle. I want to see people overcome things. And it's, I think what cemented my love for that, because I suspect it was always there before, but this song was what truly cemented my love for that kind of scene, and it's always in the back of my mind to think, you know, it'd be really cool to edit a fight scene to that someday, but despite how ridiculous both the lyrics and its source material are.
Yeah, I really feel ya. It gets you pumped. And sometimes that's all you need.
Indeed. I'll be honest, when I was compiling this list, I knew this song was going to be on there somewhere. But then, when I started putting it together, how many times I listened to it, how many times I've unironically, not for the sake of, oh, I remember this being funny, let's go back and listen to it, but the amount of times I've actually remembered, oh yeah, that was a happy memory, let's see if that still holds up. The amount of times I've listened to it unironically, yeah, that's why it's number one. It just kept climbing, dude.
Yeah, that is completely and understandably fair. Now, it has come back to me, and I feel it's time for us to take a little journey to the bottom of the rabbit hole I've been going down. Because my last entry is also power metal. Folk power metal, to be specific. A very, very singular genre. This band I discovered late-ish into my really getting into these genres, especially power metal. One of the last ones, alongside Blind Guardian, that I really, really got into, I do believe I was into Bleach at the time. Random fact for you. It was 2009, and I saw the genre, and I could not believe my eyes. This band has since run with their ridiculous concept, but at the time, they really took themselves seriously and made an effort to write legitimate storytelling lyrics before they realized that people loved them for the absurdity of their gimmick. Number 1, by Ailstorm.
Oh, yes.
Captain Morgan's Revenge.
Oh, God, yes. Ailstorm, the band that you then got me into, and I've had so many conversations with people who love, oh yeah, you gotta check out Ailstorm, they're pirate metal. No, really.
Yeah. That's actually a conversation that my brain had with itself when I first saw their entry on Wikipedia. I looked at the site, I saw genre, pirate metal, and I had a brief existential crisis, because part of my brain registered it, and the other part was like, wait, what? And then the first part would be like, yeah, pirate metal. We've gotta listen to this. This was the first song of theirs I ever listened to. Actually, probably their signature song. I dare say the song that actually put them on the radar. Captain Morgan's Revenge is a pirate tale about a treacherous crew cursed by their undead captain. I am not making that up.
The curse of Captain Morgan has led us to this fate. So have no fear and don't look back. The afterlife awaits.
Oh, glorious. Absolutely glorious.
Yeah, and to explain a little bit about Ailstorm, they're a band originally from Scotland. They've had a number of membership changes where they're now described as a multinational pirate metal band, which is an absurd phrase. But their lead singer, Chris Bowes, is indeed Scottish. And the pirate voice he does in these songs is the most insane thing you'll ever hear. It's so accurate. But he's a really good singer. So you get lost in the fact that you are listening to a gravelly voiced Scottish madman yammering on about fantasy pirate tales about undead captains chasing their traitorous crews.
Yeah, when we say pirate metal, we don't just mean the content or the getup, we mean full-on pirate metal.
Yeah, to the instrumentation, because Chris Bowes is also the band's guitarist. And for their entire existence, he has deliberately included, like, sea shanty instruments to these metal tracks that just take them to a level of absurdity that transcends time and space.
Yeah, these are people who saw Talk Like a Pirate Day and went, that's cute. Right, here we go.
Yeah, 5 albums later, they are now a legitimately famous band, and their most recent album was a comedy album, as evidenced by the Anchor song. Jonin knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a song I would play on here, but it would just basically be, well, let me put it this way. You would be hearing the Kremlin dying sound effect continuously for about 2 straight minutes.
Yeah, exactly that. And, like I say, at the start of their careers, they tried to take the gimmick a little more seriously and write actual stories and set a great mood, and they did. But people loved them for the ridiculousness of it. And it just sort of slowly took over. Like in their second album, they did a cover of Wolves of the Sea from Eurovision. In their third album, they did a cover of You Are a Pirate. Probably their most known song now.
Yeah.
In their fourth album, they did a cover of Hangover by Teo Cruz. I'm not kidding.
Okay, I haven't heard that one. I'll have to look it up.
You're probably going to get a link once we're done here. But this was basically a band that started off with a great gimmick, great lyrics, an absolutely inimitable sound, and just decided that they'd take the things that people notice the most about them, the absolute silliness, and turn it into a successful musical career. And it has worked magnificently.
It's just so wonderful. It's so wonderful.
Yeah. Ailstorm is an experience. I would continue on from that, but that's basically the sum of this entire entry.
Yeah, and it's just the summary of this whole thing. Sometimes, yeah, obviously there are some more serious songs that we really like as well, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to go with your heart, embrace the cheese and the stupidity, and just go, we're having fun now, so screw it.
Yeah, and that's basically what Ailstorm did with their entire career. And that, and really this list, is just sort of paying tribute to those who decided either I'm going to have fun with the ham and cheese, or I'm going to pour all my love into the ham and cheese. These songs are the Raul Julia of music, and that, I think, is a good phrase to end on.
Yep, I certainly can't top that. So, with that, it is time for us to enter our final section, which is...
Quickfire reviews.
This is the section where we review anything we've read, watched or played, but within the maximum time limit of 60 seconds. Sven, do you have anything for this round?
Because I've been watching him a lot lately, I'll finally pay tribute to a guy that I've been subscribed to for 2 years, and who really helped me get through the disaster that was 2016.
Binging with Babish, a YouTube channel run by a man with a glorious shaven head and a glorious beard, and a glorious, very intriguing voice, who shoots cooking videos pertaining to popular culture and the food in movies, TV, video games, etc., all shot from the neck down. Basically, there was a phase where I got it very heavily into cooking shows, and this one's been my most enduringly beloved one. Also, I just love food.
Fair play, fair play. And in my case, I'm just going to quickly review some stuff I may end up reviewing probably next month if I'm lucky.
Tales of Vesperia, yet another game from the Tales of series, which I'm a massive fanboy of, and it was originally released on the Xbox 360, but now the definitive version has now been released on PS4, Steam, and, for me, the Nintendo Switch. I really enjoy the combat, and the characters are really appealing to me so far. I would explain more, but I'm saving it for a review that I'm definitely going to do either this month or the next.
That is fair. I look forward to it.
Mm-hmm. And quickly, the next one.
Wargroove, a fantasy strategy RPG, but one that's taken more inspiration from Advance Wars than Fire Emblem. It does have some unfortunate problems with the difficulty spikes, and sometimes the user interface is needlessly cruel, although there has been a big patch recently that should fix that. I still can't help but love it. It has a lot of charm to it in terms of its pixel work, the goofy array of characters and commanders you can pull up, and plus, it is also the first strategy fantasy game I've noticed which has custom content, as in, you can create your own maps and add cutscenes to them, so when I get more time to play this game, well, look forward to me playing through it.
That is also entirely fair. I look forward to future entries of this show. Mm-hmm. It goes without saying, though, because I'm co-owner.
Yeah. There's one game I haven't played yet, but I'm just letting the people know that I downloaded it, and yes, once I play through it, we're definitely going to do a show on it, because otherwise Sven will never forgive me.
Final Fantasy IX. That is all.
Yeah, basically. That's all you need to know. Final Fantasy IX. Honestly, the peak of the entire franchise for me.
Yeah, Sven has been begging me to play it, and I did start playing it, but then my original PlayStation discs broke. But thankfully, Nintendo started releasing the PlayStation Final Fantasy games for the Switch, so I've downloaded Final Fantasy IX, and I intend to pick up Final Fantasy VII. 10 and 8... Oh, look, a bird! Anyway, that concludes this episode of Monkey Broadcast.
He's been the Jonin Monkey, I've been Sven the Crusader, and do not play Final Fantasy VIII.
Babble's Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show hosted by the Jonin Monkey and Sven the Crusader. For more news, reviews, and occasional random opinions, follow me on Twitter at TheJoninMonkey. For MP3 downloads, go to thejoninmonkey.podbean.com. All music used in the episode belongs to its original owners. This year's ending theme is The Silver Nightmare, a remix of Skies of Arcadia's final boss battle, made by D-Dubs featuring Juan Medrano. Until next month, have fun, kids!